everyone, today we're going to have inverse of a function. So a function written as f of -1 of x, so this is read as f -1 of x, and does an output and recreates the original input. So what's going on here? I have a picture to better understand this. So if these are like function machines, so I've mentioned this a lot of times in our class. So a function machine will process an input. So once we put in a number in here, this first machine will process it. We call it as the f of x. So this machine is going to give off a number after it processed it. So whatever we put in, it's going to give off another number here. And whatever that number that would come out of the first function machine will go into the second machine. And whenever the input will come out as the same as the input value. So if, for example, I have put in 5, if it will come out 5 over here, this is our inverse because it was what it did was it actually undo the function, the first function right here. So to better understand this, let's have an example. Suppose I put in 7 here. So I drop in 7. So let's say, for example, this machine is x plus 3. So after this 7 is dropped off into the machine, then it will process the 7 and 10 will come out. So 10 will come out of the first machine, and then this input of this from the first machine that we have here will go into the second machine. And the target is this machine will have to give off 7. So it will have to give off 7. So what equation should this machine have so that this input from the first machine will come out 7? So it has to process it as x minus 3. That means 10 minus 3 is 7. And this x minus 3 is our inverse. So that is based from the definition right here. It recreates the original input. So whatever you put in, that's the same number that will come out from the machine. So this is the function and this is its inverse. Before going into some more examples here, we have to take note of the following as well. So these are their opposites, or these are their inverse. So for example, if we have addition, opposite of that would be subtraction. So subtraction will undo an addition, multiplication and division, and then square and square root. Now let's have an example to better understand how do we determine an inverse of a function. So let's take this first example here. So we're gonna be doing two methods in finding for the inverse. The first method is the list and the second method is the algebraic method. So let's take this first function right here. F of x is equal to -5 x plus 7. So if we have a value of, we're going to do the list method first. If we have a value of x, let's say if x is 3, what are we going to do so that we can solve for y? So these are the steps that we have to do in order to solve for y. So the first step is to multiply whatever x we have. We're not adding 7 to it. So if x was 3, I go ahead and multiply it by -5 first. So I put multiply -5. After I multiply -5, I am going to add, so I'm going to add 7. So I'm going to add 7 to it. And then that's it. I can solve already for the y. Let's say, for example, if my x is 3. So to solve for y, I go ahead and multiply by -5. So 3 times -5 is -15. And then I'm going to add 7. And that's the value for my y. Now, to get the inverse, this is what we're going to do. We are going to flip the operation around. So instead of adding 7, I am going to subtract 7. So subtract 7, and then instead of multiplying, the opposite of multiplication is division. So I will divide -5. So then I can go ahead and write the inverse as f of -1 of x is equal to, I write x first. Okay, I write the x. Next, I will, the operation that I will do, this was the original operation for the original function. Now, this is the operation that I need to use in order that I can get the inverse. So I have the x, I am going to subtract 7 to the x. And then I am going to divide -5. And so this is the inverse of that function over there. So this is our inverse. Now let's do the algebraic method. For the algebraic method, this is what we're going to do. We are going to change, the first step is to change the f of x as y. So that becomes y equals negative 5x plus 7. Now, we are going to switch the y to x and switch the x to y. So literally switch it. So that would be x equals negative 5y plus 7. Again, I did copy the original equation here. I changed the f of x to y. To get the inverse, I switched the y to x and I switched the x to y. And the next step is to solve for y by itself. So what I do is I subtract 7 from both sides, minus 7. So then this would come out. So I can cross this out. We are left with x minus 7 equals negative 5y. Again, our target is to solve for y by itself. So I divide 5 from both sides, negative 5. Divide this by negative 5. So I am left with... So cross this out, y equals x minus 7 over negative 5. Now, we want the inverse because that's what we're looking for, the inverse. So we are going to write f of negative 1 of x is equal to x minus 7 over negative 5. As you can see, both of these are getting the same equation. So you can use the list method or you can use the algebraic method. It doesn't really matter. You still get the same answer. Now at this time, I would encourage you to pause this video and try this problem out on your own. And when you're done, unpause it and check your answer. Okay, so once we have the value for x, what are we going to do first? We're gonna have the list. So say for example, my x was 5. So if I put in 5 here, what do? Do I subtract 4 or do I multiply 3? Good, I have to subtract 4 to the 5. So that means the first step is subtract 4. So subtract 4. The next step after I subtract 4 is to multiply it by 3. So multiply 3. And then we do the reverse of this. So instead of multiplying 3, I will divide 3. So opposite of multiplication is division. And then opposite of subtraction is addition. So I'm going to add 4. So if I have f of negative 1 of x that is equal to, I write x first. The step that I will have to follow would be this. From the x, I will divide 3. So I'm going to divide 3 here. And then I'm going to add 4. So I'm going to add 4. And this is the inverse. So this is the inverse using the list method. Now let's have the algebraic method. So we have, again, the first step to get to do the algebraic method is to change m of x is equal to y. So I can change this to y is equal to 3 parentheses x minus 4. And so from here, I can go ahead and, oh, by the way, this one can be, we can rewrite this as m. So I'll change that to m. So that should be m negative 1. Okay, since that is m of x, so I changed this to m negative 1 of x. Okay, so going back to this, so that would be x is equal to 3 parentheses y minus 4. And then we want to solve y by itself. So I'm going to divide 3 from both sides. Divide this by 3 so I can cross this out. So I'm left with x over 3 equals y minus 4. I want y by itself, so I add 4. I add 4 to both sides. I can cross that out. So I'm left with x over 3 plus 4 is equal to y. And then since we want the inverse, I can go ahead and change this to m negative 1 of x is equal to x over 3 plus 4. And this is our inverse. And so if we look at the equation on the other side, that's m negative 1 of x. So both of them are x over 3 plus 4. Did you get the same answers as this? Good. Perfect. If you found this video helpful, hit like and subscribe for more math videos. See ya!